So every month on the channel we do 3 altcoin picks for the month ahead, and there's no denying that April was an absolute disaster, not just for the picks but for the market on a whole. Now in today's video what we'll do is the same as every month. We're not going to shy away, we have to accept the losers. We'll review last month's pick and how terribly they actually performed, and then we'll move on to 3 picks for May as we look at a potentially better month ahead. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, but let's get started by taking a look at them April picks. First we had Zeus Network. Now this was a play I really like the look of because of the Solana ecosystem and the BRC20 narrative. Now of course, like every altcoin, it got absolutely smashed last month. At its peak from the video, we actually seen a gain of around 25% a couple of days after the video going live. But right now at the time of recording, the coin is down roughly around 55%. Now, this isn't too concerning for me as a long-term hold. I do think that this is a solid project fundamentally, but for April, there's no denying that it didn't work out for the best. And next on the list was Fetch AI, which of course is a blue chip player, especially in the AI space. Now, last month's pick was all around the ASI merger, and I thought that people may front run the news and the actual launch of the ASI token. But of course market conditions suggested otherwise, and although it was a volatile month, we've seen price peak at around a 6% gain after the video going live of course, and right now it's currently down around 4%, so not nearly as bad as many other altcoins out there, and I do think with that ASI merger coming closer, it probably is helping the cause. And last pick for April was BFi Labs, and very similar to Zeus Network, I like this for the fact that it played into that BRC20 narrative as we edged closer to the Bitcoin halving. However, it did perform very similar to Zeus because we've seen a 30% gain just a couple of days after the video, but it was short-lived and price is now down around 52%. Now I do think again, fundamentally solid, the product itself is going to be a big player within the BRC20 ecosystem, but unfortunately this time around we just got the timing a little bit wrong. Okay, so now we move into the picks for the month ahead for May, and the first focus for me is around Flowkit and that Memecoin ecosystem. Now we've seen some meme coins such as WIF, such as Popcat start to pick up momentum since the market, basically started to look better again. But one that seems to be lagging here is Flowkit, and I think the chart is shaping up extremely well because we can see here that of course since we made a top in March, and since then we've been in a downtrend. Now it's all about, can we break that structure? And right now I'm really liking the look of this potential ascending triangle looking for a breakout. Now if you want to be super aggressive, you could be focusing on this trend line for an entry. So if we tap into here, you get your entry and maybe you use this recent low as a stop loss, and then basically if you see anything like this, it's invalidated. So that's one idea, to play it more aggressively if you're very confident that the market is done with downside and we're due to have another rally. Now if you want to be more conservative, maybe you've lost a bit of money and you trying to preserve capital and play sensibly heading into the longer bull run that we have ahead of us, you could wait for a breakout because we clearly have a level of resistance here at around, I'm going to call it 20 cent because I'm not going to go ... So, around this area here, we could see a breakout, we could see a flip into support, and then we make a run to the next level of key resistance, which we can see here at around 0.25. So that would be a nice, roughly around a 20% gain, playing it level to level. And then of course you can either jump out or ride it if momentum is looking good to the highs here that we've seen in the middle of March. So that's one way to play it. Of course, if we, really keep going and head into new yearly highs, that would be great, but I don't want to get too ahead of myself right now whilst the market is still, somewhat unsure of what's going to happen next in the short term. Guys, if you're enjoying the video, please don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. Your support is greatly appreciated. It helps me shape future content for you guys to know exactly what you want to see, and it also helps me reach a wider audience on YouTube, which supports me in a great deal. So if you haven't already, drop that like and subscribe. And the second pick for May is NAI. Now this is a high risk, high reward play. It is a low market cap AI coin, but I'm thinking that we could potentially see another AI rally in the near future. So this is why I'm including it in the video, and the chart is also shaping up very nicely. Now, full disclaimer, I am an early investor, and looking at the chart, it does look like other early investors have definitely been dumping. Now, I've not sold a single token at this point because when it was down here, I'm looking at the chart thinking, you know, why would I sell now? I'm looking for further upside and even to break these highs later on in the year. So when it comes to them early investments, when it comes to those charts, them fresh charts, them new projects, we've talked about a four-step play a number of times. We see the initial sell-off, the market dumps. We see range in price action when we start to stabilize and find a bottom. And then once it breaks out of that range, we usually see a pretty good pump if the market conditions generally allow it. So like we can see here, it started off really well. I mean, the market was still looking, you know, a little bit better at that time. Then eventually we've seen the sell-off, people dumped their bags, they lost confidence in it short term, whatever. And then we started to see this range for around a week or so between, let's say, 2 cent and 2.7 cent. And now we've seen this breakout. So when it comes to entries now, I'm thinking that this is looking much better due to the price action over the last couple of days. So what we could do is, I mean, we're here right now, and you could argue that this is a good place to find a local bottom. Now, bear in mind, when this video goes live in a couple of hours, the chart may look slightly different, but this could be a good area to make support and then form a higher low on these lower time frames and make a next leg up. So you could see something like this. Now, if you want to be super aggressive, maybe this is the entry for you. But again, similar to what we just discussed with Floki, maybe you want to be more conservative, have a bit more patience because you're still unsure about general market conditions. So then I would be focused on a flip of this recent high here at around 3.5 cents, something like that. Now, if we was to make that breakout, I think that would be the ideal entry. And for a target, you know, I'd be looking at this area here, this recent high on the way down, which is probably around the 5 cent area. So that is how I'd be looking to add to this position, or if you wanted a separate bag from, you know, separate long-term and short-term trades. But I do think that if you was going to be more aggressive right now, you could use this recent low here as an invalidation level. So if we do lose that, maybe the market's to see some more downside and you're stopped out at least for the short term. But just a couple of ideas on how to play this. But generally speaking, for a new chart, for something that is in a hot sector, I do think that it is shaping up very well. And the last pick for the month of May is actually Fetch AI. And you may be thinking, why are you picking the same coin again? Now, if you watched the recent video around the ASI merger, I'll put a link in the description. We talked about how the coin, the ASI coin, is actually set to go live very soon, and it is without doubt going to be in the month of May as long as there are no delays to the token launch. And I do think that price around that time is going to be very volatile, and there'll be some gains to made on short-term trades, which is of course what we look at in these videos because we are just looking for the month of May. Now, I am a bag holder, a long-term holder. That's a completely separate story. But when we look at the chart here, we can see that it is shaping up pretty well. We made a bottom. We actually wicked as low as 156. So, you know, that was an extremely good entry for a number of people who managed to catch that. But from that point, we've started to see a range roughly around, you know, between 180 and 260. So I'm looking for, of course, the most obvious play here, a breakout of the range for further upside. We can attack these highs that we made at the end of March here, and then we can potentially flip on from there and move into price discovery. And I would imagine at that point it would be ASI, not Fetch. So that is the most obvious play. I mean, looking at the downside from top to bottom, there is no doubt, although it's held up pretty well and it's recovered pretty well from top to bottom over the last few weeks, you know, 55% correction on such a high valuation, you know, blue chip player. It has an FDV of, I think, around 5 billion at this point. So, you know, that was some market share wiped out, but of course, people see the strength in this coin long term, and it's picked up some decent momentum. So anyway, if the market starts to look pretty good again, which it is, and hopefully it continues throughout the month, this is the kind of play I'd be looking for on Fetch. And I think the first point that I'd be looking for really would be probably around this cluster here on these highs at around $3.12, so back above $3 for the first time in a little while. Now again, if we are to see more range in price action, your eyes may look towards the range lows. We'd have to see, you know, Bitcoin probably drop below 60k again, and it could take altcoins with it and give an entry here. But to be honest, that isn't really what we're looking for at this point. We've seen some pretty bad price action over the last month or so. It's really about seeing some momentum now and playing momentum rather than playing chop. So that is all for today's video. These are the coins that I think could potentially outperform the market over the next few weeks based on technicals, fundamentals, and news surrounding these coins. Do like, do subscribe to the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated, and comment. Let me know which coins you are keeping an eye on for the month ahead. With that being said, please do trade safe, invest safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.